She clinked her last glass of champagne on the edge of a marble bar in New York. Her eyeliner smudged, her heart ripped apart. She came to forget the man who swore forever, but left her like a stranger. What she didn't expect was to wake up tangled in Egyptian cotton sheets, in a billionaire's penthouse overlooking Central Park. If you think you've seen dramatic love stories before, wait till you see what happens when the man she wakes up to offers her more than love. He offers revenge, healing, and a new life. But there's a catch. Subscribe now for stories that hit harder than reality. Asterisk, she never thought rock bottom would feel so luxurious. Amber lights dripping from chandeliers above her head. A room full of strangers laughing behind flutes of champagne, and a jazz band playing melodies too elegant for the heartbreak weighing down her chest. But that's exactly where Nora found herself the night her old life ended. Just 2 months earlier, she'd been married, happily or so, she believed, to Richard Westfield, a man whose last name sounded like a department store and heart functioned like one too, cold, transactional, and designed for appearances. They had lived in a beautiful brownstone near Boston, where everything matched the curtains, the silverware, even their smiles, but it all shattered like porcelain the day she found the message on his phone. "She means nothing," he had said when confronted, buttoning his shirt as if his betrayal needed no apology. But he didn't just leave Nora. He left her without explanation, without money, and without a sense of who she was anymore. That night, standing in the heart of Manhattan, in a dress she couldn't afford and heels that hurt like hell, she had one mission: to drink until the pain blurred. The party was too glamorous for someone like her. Now a benefit gala she was only invited to because her best friend, Lena, had pity on. Nora wasn't even sure whose penthouse this was, only that the view looked down on the city as if mocking everyone who had ever fallen. Her lipstick was fading, her mascara running, and when she took her third glass of champagne, it happened. Her knees wobbled, the room spun, and she laughed at the absurdity of being drunk in a room full of millionaires. That was when he saw her. Dominic Vale, a man whose name she would only remember the next morning, but whose presence somehow sobered her for a heartbeat. He was leaning by the bar, watching her like she was either a disaster about to happen or a painting in motion. Tall, dark-haired, and dressed in a suit that looked hand-stitched by European royalty. He walked over, not with arrogance, but curiosity, like he didn't belong in the Billionaire Club either. "You okay?" he asked, and she didn't answer. She just smiled, that crooked smile of someone whose heart was freshly broken, and said, "Do I look okay?" And instead of pitying her, he tilted his head and said, "You look like the beginning of a very dangerous story." Maybe it was the alcohol, maybe it was his voice, or maybe it was the aching hole in her chest begging to be filled with something, anything, but she stayed beside him the rest of the night. They talked about nothing and everything. She didn't tell him she was divorced, and he didn't tell her he was worth over $300 million. He just listened and made her laugh, and somewhere between that second cocktail and her head resting on his shoulder as they stared at the skyline, she forgot what pain tasted like. She didn't remember falling asleep. She only remembered warmth and the faint scent of sandalwood. When she opened her eyes the next morning, the silk sheets under her hands, the marble walls, the massive floor-to-ceiling windows told her one thing: she wasn't in her apartment anymore. Panic kicked in first, then confusion, then the slow, steady memory of his voice. "You're safe," a deep voice said from the doorway, and when she turned, he was there, demonic, shirtless. Holding a mug of coffee like this was the most casual thing in the world. "You passed out. I brought you here." "You were crying in your sleep," he said, his eyes softer now. Nora sat up slowly, clutching the blanket around her, her head pounding. "Did we?" she asked, too scared to finish. He shook his head. "You needed sleep, that's all." And just like that, everything changed. Because for the first time in months, a man looked at her without wanting something. He didn't ask for her number. He didn't try to impress her. He just asked if she wanted breakfast. And somehow, pancakes in a penthouse felt more healing than any therapy session she could have imagined. That morning was supposed to be awkward. But it wasn't. It was strange, and warm, and quiet. She learned his name. He learned hers. They ate on the rooftop like two strangers who had crashed into each other's lives by accident. But fate never makes accidents. "What do you do?" she asked finally. He paused. "I own a few things," he replied vaguely, but she didn't press. She liked the mystery. She liked how he made her feel like she wasn't broken, just bruised. After breakfast, she expected to be asked to leave. But instead, he gave her a key card. "Stay as long as you need. I'll be away on business," he said. Like offering a stranger your sanctuary was the most normal thing in the world. Nora thought he was joking, but he wasn't. He left, and she stayed, because something about that morning whispered that her old life had ended in this penthouse. This stranger, this strange, aching calm was the beginning of something she couldn't name yet. Asterisk, 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 but even the quietest moments have thunder waiting behind them. And Nora's strange new peace inside that penthouse began to shift when she opened a drawer in the guest room closet and found something she hadn't expected. A leather file folder with embossed initials. DV curiosity pulled her fingers before her brain could stop them. Inside were real estate documents, foreign bank accounts, private jet travelogues. Dominic Vale wasn't just wealthy, he was private, powerful, and possibly involved in something far beyond what he hinted at. Nora snapped the folder shut, her hands shaking. She wasn't sure why she felt guilty. She was technically just staying there, right? But it didn't feel like that anymore. In the following days, she received daily texts from him. Just small check-ins. "Did you eat today? Don't forget the sun sets best from the west balcony. There's something in the kitchen for you." The something turned out to be handwritten notes, pastries from hidden bakeries. Across Manhattan, a new journal, a scarf in her favorite color, things she never told him. Yet he somehow knew. It was romantic, yes, but it was also scary. How did he know so much? She should have been running. But something inside her stayed. Maybe it was the feeling that someone finally saw her. Not the divorcee, not the ruined woman, just her. One night, a package arrived. A black dress, sleeveless, satin, with a note. "Wear this. 8 p.m. The driver will wait downstairs." Her heart thudded. She nearly didn't go. But then she remembered how invisible she had felt for so long, and she walked out of that building like a queen, hair pinned, lips painted, and brokenness tucked deep beneath designer heels. The car took her to a private rooftop restaurant. Dominic stood waiting beside a candlelit table, Manhattan twinkling behind him. He smiled when he saw her, the kind of smile that tells you someone waited their entire life to see you smile back. The dinner was surreal. They spoke like they'd always known each other in another life. He told her stories about growing up, poor, fighting for every inch of success, building tech firms, losing people, gaining everything, and still feeling alone. She confessed her fear of being discarded again, of trusting someone who'd eventually toss her aside like Richard. "Did you?" He leaned in slowly and whispered, "I don't want to love the perfect version of you. I want the broken version, the real one." Her chest burned. She looked away. "You don't even know the half of it," she whispered. He said, "Then, show me." And that night, in the quiet hours when the world slept, she did, but not in the way the world thinks. She cried on his chest, whispered truths she never told anyone. She admitted she tried to vanish once, the night after the divorce, standing near a bridge, wondering what it would feel like to let go, and, instead of pulling away, he held her tighter and said, "Let me be the reason you never feel invisible again." They kissed, slow, trembling, honest. It was the kind of kiss that makes you forget every other kiss before it. The next morning, she wasn't just waking up in a millionaire's bed. She was waking up in a life that didn't hurt, until it did. because on the third morning, the newspapers exploded. Tech billionaire Dominic Vale, under investigation for illegal data acquisition. Nora's coffee cup slipped from her hand. Headlines screamed betrayal, and suddenly, she realized what the file folder had meant. Her sanctuary wasn't safe anymore, and neither was her heart. She called him, he didn't answer. She texted, no reply. The doorman wouldn't let her back into the building. And just like that, Nora was locked out of the one place she'd begun to feel whole. Reporters began calling her name. Photos of her from the galas surfaced. She was being painted as the mysterious woman behind the man, a possible accomplice. And yet, part of her didn't believe it. Dominic hadn't lied about who he was. He'd just hidden what he wasn't ready to share. But when she finally got a blocked call from a private number 3 days later, her entire world shifted again. "Pack a bag," he said. "I'm sending a plane. What the hell is happening?" she demanded. "I'll explain everything, but I need you to trust me one last time." And against all logic, she did. She got on that plane. The jet landed not in Paris or Switzerland, but Iceland. A private cabin hidden in the snowy mountains, like something out of a billionaire survival movie. There, in a dimly lit, fire-warmed room, Dominic told her the truth. He had been part of a whistleblower network, not stealing data, but exposing those who did. The investigation was real, but it was crooked. The media was spinning it. He was being set up by former partners and corporations who wanted him buried. "Why tell me?" she asked. He said, "Because you're the only thing that's ever made me want to fight for something instead of against something." They stayed there for weeks, hiding, laughing, healing, and something happened in that snowy silence. Nora became stronger. She started writing again, essays, journals, memories. He built her a writing room, with a view of the glaciers. And one night, under northern lights, he knelt before her, no ring, no flash, and said, "You don't have to love me. You don't have to stay, but I want you to have this life. A life where no one gets to erase you again." She cried, then laughed, then kissed him so hard the cold air turned warm. Months later, the charges were dropped. Dominic was cleared. They returned to New York not as fugitives, but as legends. Reporters followed them, but she didn't hide anymore. She didn't shrink. She walked beside him like she belonged, because she finally believed she did. Her ex-husband, Richard, tried to reach out. She blocked him. She didn't need closure from someone who never truly saw her. The real closure was waking up each day beside someone who did. Years passed. She published a memoir, The Bed I Woke Up In, and it became a bestseller. Book clubs, interviews, TED Talks, all wanted to hear from the woman who drank to forget her divorce, but woke up in a billionaire's bed with a beginning no one saw coming, not even her. And in the final chapter of her book, she wrote, "I thought I was broken. But sometimes, broken things are just unfinished masterpieces, waiting for the right hands." And to this day, Nora never regrets that one night at the gala, because heartbreak brought her to the edge. But love, real, quiet, dangerous loaf, brought her back.